Hello and welcome back. Let's go ahead and finish up where we last left off, implementing the validation. Now that we've implemented validation on the service layer, let's go ahead and implement it on the web layer, so the controller and the view. Let's take a look and see how we're able to do this. Let's head over to our gradebook web. So gradebook web, heading over to source main Java. So we're going to head over to our gradebook portlet. Feel free to add the next snippet or type it out. I'll leave the choice up to you. For me, I'm going to copy the snippet. I don't trust myself typing everything out. Let's make ourselves less prone to error. But if you do want to practice typing, feel free to do so. I'll again leave that up to you. So what we're doing here is we're going to silence the action success action. So the process action success action. What that's going to mean is the default message that we would typically get when the action phase completes is no longer going to be there. We're instead going to substitute that out with our own custom message. So get rid of the default and we're going to have the custom message show up instead. Make sure to save along the way. Let's go ahead and add validation to each one of our MVC commands. So let's first head over to the add assignment MVC action command. And let's head back over to our materials. Feel free to copy the whole code, right, just to make life a little bit easier. And we'll highlight some of the key concepts or key aspects of the code change. So this is over in the add assignment MVC action command. And the first one we're going to be looking at is the session messages. That's a tongue twister for me. So right here, the session messages is going to add to the action request this parameter assignment added. What we're going to see in a little bit is we're going to be grabbing this parameter assignment added over on the JSP side and translating that into a message. So this is going to act sort of like a key value pair, where we'll determine the value over on the JSP side. Next portion we want to highlight is right here on line number 91. We are grabbing each error that might show up and we're going to be adding it to a list. So we're going to be adding it to our session errors. So the session errors will then display error messages over on the JSP side if things do not go as we planned them. And then one more error. Again, this is more for the realism. If we do throw an exception, as we saw above, right, we want to be able to throw different messages depending on what type of error we may be receiving. All right, so very good. So we have a mechanism using these session errors and session messages to be able to display custom success messages or custom error messages. Now we have to tie everything together on the JSP side. So first things first, we need to bring in a few libraries. It might actually only be one library over on our JSPs. We know from a previous video that all of the libraries for our JSPs will be contained within the init.jsp. So I'll head back over to my snippets here. I know we still have two other parts of code that we need to add, but I want to tie everything together first, and then we'll come back and implement those other two. All right, so bringing in the library for session errors, and then we can go ahead and save the file. Now, last part here, we're going to head over to our view.jsp. And here inside of our view.jsp, we're going to add another snippet. And still keeping in the back of our minds, we have to implement those other two MVC actions. But let's go ahead and implement these. And we're going to put these right below the tag to include the init.jsp. If you want to get rid of one of those, feel free to do so. Actually, we should. So I'll go ahead and get rid of one of those. We'll see some errors here. We can go ahead and save the file. Let's see if we can get those. Actually, this should be fine. So session errors, that should be brought over from our init.jsp right here. So let's see if this error, this message gives me anything specific. Let me see if I can refresh that one away. But it shouldn't be a big deal. using the dot slash just references that init.jsp. So it looks like it went away when I quote unquote properly referenced it. All right, so let's take a look and see what's going on here. So here we have the Liferay UI error. So here we're picking up a specific key, right? The service error details. And that was being passed over here in our add assignment MVC action command. Right, so you can find that right here in this second catch. Here in the view.jsp, one more time, right? The message itself is coming as an argument, and we're kind of extrapolating this out. We're going to be offshooting the actual message in another file. But if you want to keep things simple, we can take a look at the Liferay UI success messages. So here, a specific key will be passed over from a specific MVC command. Once that key is passed or received, we'll then display the message that corresponds it. Up above, the message is more modular, so we can change it on the fly if we would want to. So right now, the message is also assigned as a specific key. So just as we described up here at the top with the error, we can have the message as a key, and then the value of that key can be placed in another file. And we'll take a look at that a little bit later. So over here in the add assignment MVC action command, right here in the try statement, we make our service call to add assignment. In the add assignment, recall that we had the validator, assuming everything goes right with the validator, and the assignment is added successfully. We'll then make our call to the session messages to add to the action request the specific parameter assignment added, and this will then render the view.jsp. Over here in the view.jsp, that assignment added key will get picked up and will display this message. The message is also set as a key where the value of the message can be placed in another file. And we'll take a look at that again a little bit later. So there's a couple of other areas that we need to fill in the gaps. So we also need to fill in the gap for the edit assignment MVC action command and the delete. So let's go ahead and double back and do that. So I'll head over to the edit assignment MVC action command first, going back over to our snippets, and then we're going to be implementing the edit assignment MVC action command. All right, we won't spend too much time here with the code. It's essentially going to be the same thing. Assuming that the edit assignment is done successfully, we'll then make that call to session messages to add to the action request object the parameter assignment updated. Once the view.jsp renders, it'll pick up that key assignment updated and then display the message. One more class we need to update is going to be the delete assignment MVC action command. So we'll go ahead and head over there, copy the snippet, and then paste. And again, the same story is happening. Once the assignment is deleted successfully, we'll then go into the session messages to add to that action request object the specific parameter assignment deleted. View.jsp picks it up and then displays the message using that Liferay UI success tag. Okay, very good. So we have all the success messages there. We're also going to want those error messages as well. So as we're editing an assignment, if anything goes wrong during that edit, we're going to want to make sure that we can display some error messages when we're editing the assignment. So we edit the assignment over in the edit assignment.jsp. Let's go ahead and grab that snippet and head over to the edit assignment.jsp. Right, I'll go ahead and get rid of that include for the init.jsp since my snippet includes it already. If you want to get rid of the message, you can do the .. up one level and then init.jsp. So there we go. Again, those errors don't have a huge impact. The init.jsp will still be picked up anyways. If you're a real stickler for those errors, you can do as I did. So here in the edit assignment.jsp, the same thing is kind of going on, just in reverse with errors, right? We're still passing over a key, and once that key is received, right, it'll then display a specific message. So same principle, just in reverse with error messages instead of success messages. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and test this out. So heading over to my web browser, again, I like to refresh the page before testing this out. we'll head over and leave the title alone. We'll fill something in for the description and then hit save. If you're running into an error that's kind of like mine, or if things aren't working the way it's supposed to, you might run into a no such method error exception. If you are, we're going to redeploy the application. So what we can do is remove each one of the modules. So we can remove them from the server and then redeploy. So let's go ahead and try that out. So adding our 3, we'll go ahead and throw those in there. Right. If you want to head back over to localhost in the meantime, application is not there. That's okay. I'll sign back in and then we'll re-add it. So there is my gradebook application. Let's try one more time. So we'll leave the title alone, add a description, and then save, and then you should see a failure. The error message, since we haven't provided a value for the key, comes out exactly as we see. So far we see that the server-side validation is working, right? We left the title alone, and by doing so, right, we hit the server, we go through the validation and see that it validates correctly and sends an error message as well. Now let's make sure that client side is also doing what it's supposed to do. So the description is required, but when I tab away, it lets me know that this is also a required field. So we see server side and we also see client side working for us as well. We'll implement a little bit more on the client side, right? So right now, if I were to put some random symbols, right? Maybe we're trying to be sneaky here. You'll see that it goes through perfectly. And that's not the ideal world, especially with a lot of people trying to exploit applications to gather personal data. We're going to implement a little bit more on the client side to protect against some of those things. So we're going to head over to the edit assignment.jsp. So over in our gradebook web, source main resources, edit assignment.jsp. And then we're going to pull from our snippets. Right, so we are down here implementing the client. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a few other validations to our title. So let's head back over once you have the proper snippet copied. And within the title tag, right, so within this input here, we're going to add our snippet of code. So we're going to use the validator, right, to make sure that whatever is being added within the title is no special characters or symbols. So let's go ahead and save along the way. And heading back over, I'll refresh the page one more time. Right, since this is client side, we should be able to see this right away. So if I do a $, for example, and then something like dollars, and then tab away, we'll see that the validator catches that right away. So very good. We see two forms of validation and how to implement it. We see server side, which is taken care of over in our assignment local service impl mainly. And we also see client side using Alloy UI in this example to achieve that. Again, you're not bound or you're not required to use Alloy UI. If you have validation on the client side done differently, feel free to do it in that way. So this wraps it up for validation, and I will see you in the next video.